Hello, a very good morning to you all. Welcome to another lecture series on microprocessor and microcontrollers. This is Rajesh, and today we are going to discuss about the memory organization of MSP 430. As you have already known that the architecture of MSP 430 is designed in an von Neumann method, and the address space here is shared with special function registers, peripherals, RAM and ROM devices. So coming to the architecture in MSP 430, most of the MSP 430 families are same in architecture, but a slight difference is that they are differ with RAM and ROM sizes, and the data which is stored in the memory locations is in a procedure like a little endian process, where the lower byte of the data is stored at lower memory address and the higher byte is stored at the higher memory address. As you have as you can see that right now here in the address map of MSP 430, by seeing this we have we can identify that from where the address location or what is the memory locations where we have given for all the peripherals. For example, for special function registers we have 16 bits, that is from 00 to 0F. So what are special function registers? These are located in the lower 16 byte of the address space, where some peripheral functions are configured for enabling and signaling interrupts from peripherals. So here the special function registers are used for enabling the signals. Next, coming to the peripheral registers with byte access, what are the peripherals? Peripherals of the devices which are present within the system or within the circuit. That means this provide a main communication between CPU and peripherals. That means this peripheral register is used to combine or to communicate with the CPU and registers, and some must be accessed in word or some must be accessed in byte. As you have seen here from second one and third one, peripheral registers with word access and peripheral register with byte access. These two registers communicate with CPU to perform the tasks. When coming to the RAM, so what is a RAM? So these RAM is nothing but random access memory. This is used for variables, and the starting address and the upper address you can see from here. The starting address is from 00 to 000 to 0 to 7F, because here the end address depends. Here we cannot say what is the end address, because the end address depends on the amount of RAM which is present in the device. Generally in a MSP 430 F families, it has 128 bytes of RAM. So coming to the next one, that is bootstrap loader. It is located in the memory space which is an external interface. That means here we are using this for an external interface, and that can be used to program the flash memory. This is used here. This bootstrap is used to program the flash memory, external flash memory. And in addition to this cannot be overwritten accidentally. This cannot be overwritten accidentally. So next one is coming to the flash memory. So this flash memory holds the program include executable file itself, executable file itself and any constant data. Sorry. So coming to the next one, that is flash information memory. So here it is a 256 bytes of flash memory which is intended for the storage of non-volatile data. That means here I'll give you a small example. For example, if you are taking some printouts in a printer, for example you have given 50 printouts. During these printouts, if the printer is giving printouts, if there unexpectedly there occurs a power loss, that means after printing 25 pages the power loss has been occurred. So the printer will allow, or the printer will print only 25 pages. Whenever the power on comes again, the printer will start from 2060 page. That means it will be, or the data will be retained, and after getting the power it will be again starting the data or information to be sent. It means again it will print the remaining pages. Coming to the next one, coming to the flash code memories. So this holds the program which includes the executable program itself and some constant data. So, and the start address of flash memory or RAM depends on the amount of flash which is present in the device. So coming to the next one, interrupt and reset vector table. This is used to handle exceptions. What is the meaning of exceptions? Exceptions is nothing but interrupt or reset. That is when normal operation of processor is interrupted or when the device is reset. Okay, thank you. And the next topic is CPU architecture and registers of MSP 430. So what is a CPU? A CPU executes the instructions which are stored in the memory in a step-by-step manner unless there exists an interrupt. That means there exists an disturbance. Before executing any disturbance, the CPU will perform the task which is given or which is given by the user, or which the programmer has written, will be executed in a sequential manner. Then the CPU here, the CPU of MSP 430 works with a clock frequency of 16 megahertz, and the families, on some of the families of MSP 430, 4XX generation also, and the remaining devices or the remaining MSP 430 families will work with 8 megahertz. Here it is built in a it is built using a static logic, which means that there is no minimum operation. That is, the CPU can be stopped and will retain state when it is restarted or interrupted. The main purpose of this is to reduce the power. That means power will be consumed. That means low power will be used by the CPU. So coming to the features of MSP 430, coming to the first one, that is a orthogonal architecture with every instruction usable with every addressing mode. What is the meaning of orthogonality? The center location. That means here it is used, or it will be available for every addressing mode. And the next one is full register access, including program counter, status register and stack pointer. Register access, that means in order to obtain the data which is present in program counter or status registers and stack pointer will be dealt in a full-fledged manner. Coming to the next one, single cycle registers operation. So single cycle means we can operate the instruction in a single step. That means there is no need of waiting for the data to be fetched, or it has to be interacted with other devices. A single cycle is required to perform the operations, and it has a 16-bit register file which reduces fetches to memory. That means here, as the size is a 16-bit, it is very easy to reduce the time period. The main concept of our designing a microcontroller is to reduce the time. So here, coming to the next one, it is a 16-bit bus allows direct access and branching throughout the entire memory range. Direct accessing. Here we are not dealing with an indirect accessing. That means here we are dealing with direct accessing, so that the data is being fetched directly, and data as well as address is fetched directly without any delay, and the data will be manipulated of a word wide argument. If I want to change the data, it will be manipulated, it will be changed. A constant generator provides 6 most used immediate values and reduces the core size. So in order to reduce the time, here we have 6 most used immediate values. By using these values, the core size will be reduced. Word and byte addressing and instruction format. So the addressing byte or the addressing data will be from the form of a word or a byte. Here we have a 16-bit RISC architecture with 27 instructions and 7 addressing modes, and it can address the complete address range without any paging, that means without any delay. So coming to the structure, internal structure of register organization of MSP 430, we can see here we have 16 registers, in which 4 registers, that means from R0 to here, from R0 to R3, these are called these are given for a dedicated functions. That means a program counter, stack pointer, status registers, or constant generator 1, R3, or constant generator 2. So coming to the first one, R0. What is R0 here? The other name of R0 here, R0 is nothing but program counter. What is a program counter? This program counter points to the next instruction to be fetched from the memory. The next instruction to be fetched from the, that means it fetches the next instruction. As we have seen in 8086, we have an instruction queue. Here the program counter will fetches the next instruction from the memory and executed by the CPU. The PC is, that means the program counter is incremented by 2, 4 or 6, that means, and 6 because it is consists of a even number of bytes. So because, and one more thing is, it is aligned to an even address, and the instructions are composed of minimum 1 to 3 words. Therefore it starts in an even address. Coming to the next one, R1. The other name of R1 is stack pointer. Here the stack pointer is also a memory block which is present in the which is present in the memory, and it stores the data in last in first out manner. So last in first out manner, and the stack pointer holds the address of the stack top of a RAM and goes down towards its lower address. Here whenever the LSB of a stack pointer is given to 0, which shows that we have a valid words. So the lower bit of the stack pointer, whenever it reaches to 0, you can say that it is a valid address. So coming to the next one, coming to the R2 or status registers. where we have seen these status registers. In 8086 we have a status register. How many status registers were there? We have only one status register, which is of 16 bit. In those 16 bits we have used 9 flag registers, that is flags for here constant generator. Coming to the we'll just go to that one. Yeah, here a status register or R2 register is consisting of 16 bits and from 0 to 15. So C, Z, N, G, I, E, CPU off, oscillator off, SCG0 and SCG1, V and reserve. First of all, initially we will come to the C. Here C in sense carry flag. As you all know, carry flag, when this flag will be set, whenever the resultant of or whenever while performing an addition operation, if it generates a carry flag, if it generates a carry, then this carry flag will be set. While during in subtraction method, if a borrow is to be taken, then this carry flag will be set. So next one is 0. Z means 0 flag. If the output of any computation is 0, then this flag will be set, otherwise it will be reset. Coming to N, here N is nothing but a negative flag or a signed flag. It is set to 1 when the resultant of an operation is negative. So the value of N will be 1 when it is a negative and 0 when it is a positive. We'll come back to this one later in the session. Coming to this one, here V is nothing but a signed overflow flag. As you all know, what is an overflow flag? Here this name is signed overflow flag. It is set to 1 when the result of the signed operation has overflowed, even though the carries may not be generated. And from bit 9 to 15, these are reserved for further use. Here, as you have seen that this GIE in sense setting the general interrupt enable. GIE is nothing but general interrupt enable. This bit enables the maskable interrupt. What is the meaning of maskable and non-maskable? With maskable instance, which can be changed. So which can be changed. Setting the general interrupt enable bit enables maskable interrupt. Any changeable interrupts can be enabled. So, and it also clears the bit. Clearing the bit disables all maskable interrupts. Clearing means resetting the bit makes all the maskable interrupts into a disabled manner. And there are also non-maskable interrupts which cannot be disabled with GIE. As we have known already that non-maskable interrupts cannot be disabled. So coming to the next one. So control of low power modes, as you have seen previously, that CPU off, oscillator off, SCG0, SCG1. We'll come to this one here. So CPU off, those are called control of low power modes. CPU off, oscillator off, system clock generator 0, system clock generator 1. So all the systems are fully operational when all bits are clear. Setting combinations of these bits puts the device into one of its lowest power modes. So we need to run these systems in a very low power modes. We need to check in which type of modes the operation will be performed very fastly and which consumes less amount of power. For example, come here, by checking this SCG1 and SCG0, by making when SCG1 is set, turns off the SMCLK, and when SCG1 G0 is set, turns off the DCO, that is DC generator for DCO. So if DCO clock is not used for MCLK, or SMCLK. So here what in turn SCG1 when it is set turns off the SMCLK. SMCLK means the clock which is given to the peripherals which are in the architecture of MSP 430. It will turns off, that means no power supply will be given to the remaining blocks. When it's set, coming to the SCG, not when it is set, turns off the DCO or DC generator for DCO. This will turns off the DC generator which reduces the clock. Here you can see that it is not used for MCLK and SMCLK. Here only these two things will be not used. So here coming to the oscillator of, when it is set, that it turns off the VLO and LFXT1 crystal oscillators, and this is not used for MCLK and SMCLK. Crystal oscillators are nothing but from the external oscillators. It will be not used, the clocks are not used by the external oscillators. CPU off, when this one turns off the MCLK which stops the CPU. So as you know that MCLK as master clock is connected to the CPU. When it is off, then the CPU will stop working. So coming to the next one, R2 or R3 constant generator, CG1 or CG2. So the R2 register can also be set as status registers or constant generator. So here previously I have explained about the status registers and how they were used, and here now I am giving a brief description about constant generator 1 and constant generator 2. Depending of the source register addressing modes, 6 commonly used constants can be generated without a code word or a code memory access to retrieve them. What is the meaning of retrieving? Getting back them. So 6 commonly used constants can be generated. For example, without whenever we need to dial a number. Suppose, for example, the main example regarding this one is a speed dial. Instead of dialing 10 numbers, if we dial only one digit, then the particular person phone will be ringed. So it will be a very good example for understanding this. Coming to the next one, it is a very powerful feature which allows the implementation of emulated instructions. For example, instead of implementing core instruction for an increment, the constant generator is used. So very, very small things. Why? Because we are designing a system which is using less power and less size. So in order to reduce all these things, the instruction sizes will be reduced. Here, instead of using a core instruction, a constant generator is used. So in order, if we are writing a large amount of instructions, instead of that we are using a small instruction. Okay, coming to the next one, the registers R2 and R3 can be used to generate 6 different constants commonly used in programming without the need to add an extra 16-bit word or code to the instructions. As we have previously told that we have a 6 commonly used constants. So 6 commonly used, here we are not adding an extra 16-bit word of code to the instruction. By using these 6 common constants, we are not reducing the size. The constants below are chosen based on a bit as the instruction that selects the addressing mode. So see here, suppose R2 register with addressing mode 10, 4 constant, 11, 8 constant, 0, 1. So here you can see R2 as well as R3. Here R2 and R2 have 2 values, that is 10 and 11, and the constant value will be plus 4 and plus 8. And coming to R3, 00, 01, 10, 11. That means we have all the 4 combinations here: 00, 01, 10 and 11. Here we have value of a 0 and plus 1 plus 2, and in R3, as the addressing mode value is 1 1, we have a negative value, that is -1. That value is F, F, F and F. So the remaining are R4 to R15. These are general purpose registers. These will be used to store any data value, address pointers or index values, and can be accessed with byte or word instruction by any user, or we can store whatever the data type. We can store these data in the general purpose registers. Thank you. And here by this I'm going to conclude this class. Thank you again, and be safe, stay home and stay safe. Thank you.